There is something sitting in your shower right now that you have trusted completely, maybe for months, maybe for years. And the painful truth is that it might be the very reason you are watching more and more hair circle the drain every single morning. I know that sounds alarming. I know it sounds like the kind of thing that gets thrown around just to scare people. But stay with me, because what I am about to share with you is not a scare tactic. It is something that thousands of women are living through right now without a single clue that the culprit is something they buy every few weeks at the grocery store, something they squeeze into their palm without a second thought, something that smells lovely and lathers beautifully and feels like self-care. The very product designed to protect your hair might be quietly, methodically destroying it. And the most disturbing part of all this is not what these shampoos contain. It is the fact that the beauty industry has built an entire system that makes sure you never find out. So today, everything changes. We are going to go through the 4 types of shampoos that are working against you every single wash day, and then we are going to flip the script and talk about the 5 ingredients that can actually help your hair recover, thicken, and grow back stronger than it has been in years. But here's the thing you need to know right now before we go a single step further. The most powerful solution, the one that has the most science behind it, the one that women are reporting the most dramatic results from, that one comes at the very end. So whatever you do, do not walk away from this before we get there, because that last one is the one that could genuinely change everything for you. Let us start at the beginning with the ingredient that is probably in your shampoo right now, even if the front of the bottle tells you otherwise. Sodium lauryl sulfate, or SLS, is what creates that thick, foamy lather that makes you feel like your hair is getting deeply cleaned. It feels satisfying. It feels effective. It feels like something is actually happening. And something is happening, just not what you think. SLS is a surfactant, which means it is designed to strip oil and debris from a surface. The problem is that it does not know the difference between the grime you want removed and the protective oils your scalp has spent days carefully producing to shield your hair follicles from the outside world. It strips everything, every last bit of it, and what gets left behind is a scalp that is raw, exposed, and completely defenseless. When your scalp loses its natural barrier, it does not just feel dry or a little itchy. The follicles themselves become inflamed. That inflammation, even when it is subtle enough that you cannot see it or feel it, is one of the most destructive forces your hair roots can face. A follicle under constant low-grade inflammation is a follicle that gradually weakens, produces thinner strands, and eventually stops producing hair at all. And because this happens slowly, you do not connect the dots. You do not think about the shampoo. You think about your age, your genetics, your stress levels. You accept it as something that was always going to happen to you. But for many women, it was never inevitable. It was being caused, wash, by a harsh chemical they never suspected. Here is what makes this even more frustrating. Shampoos that are marketed as gentle, as natural, as sulfate-free are not always what they claim to be. Manufacturers know that consumers have started to wise up to SLS, so they have gotten creative. The front of the bottle says one thing. The fine print on the back lists sodium lauryl sulfate or ammonium lauryl sulfate or any number of chemical cousins that behave in almost exactly the same way. Women with color-treated hair, women with naturally dry or sensitive scalps, women who are already dealing with thinning are the most vulnerable to this because their barrier is already compromised before they even step into the shower. They are starting from a weaker position, and SLS pushes them further down every single time. But as damaging as SLS is, it is not the sneakiest offender on this list. The next one operates in a way that most women would never think to associate with hair loss, because it is not working on your scalp directly. It is working inside your body, and once you understand how, you will never look at your shampoo bottle the same way again. Parabens have been in cosmetic products for decades. They are preservatives, meaning their job is to stop bacteria and mold from growing inside your shampoo bottle. On the surface, that sounds completely reasonable. Nobody wants moldy shampoo. But the reason parabens have become so controversial, the reason researchers and health advocates have been raising alarms about them for years, is that they do not stay neatly in the bottle. They absorb through your skin, they enter your bloodstream. And once they are inside your body, they behave like estrogen. Your body runs on a delicate hormonal balance, and your hair growth cycle is directly tied to that balance. Hair grows in distinct phases. There is a growth phase where the follicle is actively producing hair, a resting phase where it pauses, and a shedding phase where the old hair falls out to make room for new growth. When your hormones are balanced, this cycle flows smoothly. You shed some hair, you grow new hair, and everything more or less evens out. But when something disrupts your hormones, even slightly, even in a way you cannot feel, the cycle gets thrown off. More follicles shift into the resting and shedding phases. Fewer stay in the growth phase. And gradually, over months, you start noticing that your ponytail is thinner, that your part looks a little wider, that you can see your scalp in places you never used to be able to see it. Parabens do exactly this. By mimicking estrogen, they confuse your body's hormonal signals. And because they are present in so many products you use daily, from your shampoo to your conditioner to your moisturizer, the exposure accumulates. Your body cannot process and eliminate them fast enough, so they build up over time, and the hormonal disruption compounds. Women who are already navigating perimenopause or menopause, women whose hormones are already fluctuating in significant ways, are especially sensitive to this added disruption. Their systems are already working hard to maintain balance. Parabens are like someone constantly bumping the scales. The most common ones to look for on labels are methylparaben, propylparaben, and butylparaben. If you see any of those, put the bottle down. But now brace yourself, because the third ingredient on this list is arguably the most infuriating of all, and it is infuriating precisely because you cannot even fully protect yourself from it just by reading the label. Synthetic fragrance is everywhere. It is in your shampoo, your conditioner, your styling cream, your body wash, your laundry detergent. It is one of the most ubiquitous ingredients in personal care products, and it is also one of the most dangerous for women dealing with hair loss for a reason most people never hear about. When you see the word fragrance or parfum on an ingredient list, that single word is not an ingredient. It is a category. It is a legal loophole that allows a company to list one word in place of potentially dozens or even hundreds of undisclosed chemicals. Manufacturers are not required to reveal what is inside their fragrance blend because it is considered a trade secret. So you read the label, you see fragrance listed near the bottom, and you assume it is just a small amount of something that makes the product smell nice. But you have no idea what you are actually putting on your scalp. Many of the chemicals hiding inside synthetic fragrance blends are sensitizers, which means they trigger immune responses in your skin. Your scalp becomes reactive, it becomes inflamed. And as we already established, inflammation is one of the most direct enemies of healthy hair follicles. But there is something even more concerning lurking inside those undisclosed fragrance formulas. Many of them contain phthalates, chemicals used to make scents last longer and adhere to surfaces. Phthalates are endocrine disruptors, meaning they interfere with your hormones in much the same way parabens do. Studies have connected high phthalate exposure to disrupted cycles, fertility challenges, and yes, hair thinning. The cruel irony is that you cannot avoid phthalates by reading the label, because they are hiding inside that single-word fragrance, invisible to you, allowed to accumulate in your system without your knowledge or consent. Women who have switched to completely fragrance-free shampoos report something interesting in the first few weeks. Less itching, less redness, a scalp that feels calmer and more settled. And then, over the following months, noticeably less hair in the shower drain. Your nose might take a little time to adjust because you are so accustomed to that powerful scent that comes with conventional shampoos. But your scalp will thank you in ways that actually matter, in ways you can see and feel over time. Now, the fourth shampoo type might be the most surprising of all because, unlike the others, it is not a shampoo with harmful chemical additives. It is a shampoo that is actually designed for a legitimate purpose. The problem is not what it contains. The problem is how often women are using it. And many of you watching right now might recognize yourselves in this. Clarifying shampoos exist for a specific reason. They are designed to strip away heavy product buildup, chlorine residue, excess oil, the kind of deep accumulation that a regular shampoo cannot fully address. Used occasionally, maybe once or twice a month, they do exactly what they promise. Your hair feels lighter, cleaner, refreshed. Your scalp can breathe. But here is what happens when women start using them too frequently, and this is more common than you might think. Clarifying shampoos contain significantly stronger detergents than regular shampoos because they need to cut through stubborn buildup. When you use that kind of stripping power every week, or worse, every wash day, your scalp enters a cycle that is almost impossible to break without knowing what is happening. The cycle works like this. You wash with a clarifying shampoo and strip your scalp completely bare. Your scalp panics because its job is to protect itself, so it floods the area with oil to compensate. Within a day or two, your hair already feels greasy, so you wash again with the clarifying shampoo because it is the only thing that makes your hair feel truly clean. And your scalp gets stripped bare again and panics again and floods with oil again, round and round with your hair follicles suffering through every single iteration of this loop. They never get to rest. They never get to find their natural balance. They are constantly bouncing between extremes, and that constant stress has a physical toll. Hair becomes brittle. It breaks more easily. Individual strands grow in thinner. And over time, the overall density of your hair decreases in ways that look very much like age-related thinning, even when age has nothing to do with it. Women with fine hair are especially vulnerable here because their strands are more delicate to begin with. But even women with thick hair can push their follicles to this breaking point with enough repeated cycles of over-clarifying. If you have been blaming your hair type or your genetics for changes you have noticed over the past year or two, take a moment to think honestly about how often you have been reaching for that clarifying shampoo. The answer might surprise you. Getting out of this cycle requires patience more than anything else. You need to switch to a genuinely gentle shampoo and give your scalp the time it needs to stop overproducing oil and find its equilibrium. The first week or two might feel uncomfortable. Your hair might seem greasier than usual, but push through it because on the other side of that adjustment period is a scalp that has finally remembered how to take care of itself. Now we are shifting into the part of this conversation that should fill you with real grounded hope, because knowing what to avoid is only half the equation. The other half is knowing what to reach for, what to look for on those ingredient lists, what can actually make a meaningful difference for your hair. There are 5 ingredients that stand out above everything else, and we are going to go through them from helpful to extraordinary, because the one waiting at the very end of this list is the one that most women have never tried, and the results they describe when they do are remarkable. Starting at number 5, there is an ingredient that you have almost certainly heard of in the context of supplements, but might not have considered looking for in your shampoo. Biotin, also known as vitamin B7, is one of the foundational building blocks of healthy hair. Your hair is made primarily of a protein called keratin, and biotin plays a direct role in the production of that protein. When biotin is applied directly to your scalp through your shampoo, it gets to work at the follicle level, strengthening the protein structure of each strand from the very root. Women who use biotin-infused shampoos consistently tend to notice less breakage over time, and less breakage means that hair can actually grow to a longer length before it snaps off, which makes your overall hair appear thicker and fuller even before a single new follicle has been activated. When you are reading ingredient labels, biotin might also be listed as vitamin B7 or D-biotin. What matters is where it appears in the list. Ingredients are listed in order of concentration, so the further down an ingredient appears, the less of it is present. Look for biotin in the top half of the list, which suggests there is actually a meaningful amount of it rather than just a trace included for marketing purposes. And while you are washing with your biotin shampoo, take 2 full minutes to massage it into your scalp with your fingertips, moving in small, slow circles across every section. This is not just about relaxation. Scalp massage measurably increases blood flow to your follicles, and better circulation means the biotin and other beneficial ingredients get delivered more efficiently to exactly where they need to go. Keep your expectations realistic with biotin. Hair growth is slow by nature. Your follicles work on a cycle measured in months, not days. You are looking at around 3 to 4 months of consistent use before you start to notice meaningful changes in thickness and strength. Take a photo of your hair right now before you make any changes. Then take another one in 4 months. The difference between what you see in a mirror every day and what you can see side by side in 2 photographs can be genuinely shocking. At number 4, we have an ingredient that addresses a different dimension of the hair loss problem. Keratin protein targets not the follicle itself, but the strand, the actual structure of each individual hair growing from it. Every time you blow dry, flat iron, go out in the sun, swim in chlorinated water, or use any kind of chemical treatment on your hair, you are degrading the keratin that gives each strand its strength and integrity. As that keratin wears away, your hair becomes porous, meaning it cannot hold moisture properly. It becomes rough to the touch, frizzy in appearance, and prone to snapping at any point along the strand. And here's the thing about breakage that most women do not realize. If your hair is breaking off halfway down the shaft, it looks exactly like thinning from the follicle. The root cause is completely different, but the visual result is almost identical. You see less hair, shorter hair, hair that feels sparse and limp, and you assume your follicles are the problem when the issue is actually happening inches above your scalp. Keratin shampoos work by depositing protein along the hair shaft, filling in the gaps left by damage, and creating a smoother, stronger surface. Hair feels thicker because each strand has physically more substance to it. It looks shinier because light reflects more evenly off a smooth surface than a rough one. And it breaks far less because the structural integrity has been reinforced. For women whose thinning is primarily breakage-related, switching to a keratin shampoo can produce some of the fastest visible improvements of anything on this list, sometimes within just a few weeks. Look for hydrolyzed keratin on the label. Hydrolyzed means the keratin has been broken down into smaller molecules that can actually penetrate your hair shaft rather than just sitting on top of it as a temporary coating. And alternate your keratin shampoo with a moisturizing shampoo throughout the week, because protein and moisture need to work in balance. Too much protein without adequate moisture can actually make your hair stiff and overly rigid, which creates its own kind of brittleness. Warmth helps the absorption process, so using your keratin shampoo in a warm shower and letting it sit for a full minute before rinsing will give you noticeably better results than using it in a cool shower and rinsing immediately. Number 3 on this list is an ingredient that is currently having a massive moment in the skincare world, but its power for scalp and hair health is something that is only beginning to get the attention it deserves. Niacinamide, which is vitamin B3, does something that almost nothing else in a shampoo can do quite as effectively. It improves blood circulation directly in your scalp. This matters more than most people understand. Your hair follicles are living structures. They need a constant, steady supply of oxygen and nutrients carried through your blood to function properly. When circulation is good, follicles are well-fed and energetic, producing strong, thick, healthy hair. When circulation is poor, they become sluggish and undernourished. The hair they produce gets thinner and weaker. Some follicles go quiet altogether. As we age, circulation naturally decreases, particularly to areas of the body that are far from the heart. Your scalp, sitting at the top of your head, is one of the first places to feel the effects of reduced blood flow. This is one of the reasons why hair thinning so often accelerates with age, not just because of hormonal changes, but because the follicles are simply not being fueled the way they once were. Niacinamide addresses this by gently dilating the tiny blood vessels in your scalp, increasing the flow of blood to your follicles. It also reinforces the moisture barrier of your scalp, preventing water loss, reducing inflammation, and creating the kind of calm, balanced environment where follicles can thrive. Women with sensitive scalps tend to respond especially well to niacinamide because, unlike many active ingredients, it does not irritate. It soothes, it repairs, it restores. Look for niacinamide or nicotinamide or vitamin B3 on the ingredient label and try to find it in the upper third of the list. You can use a niacinamide shampoo daily without any concern about overexposure, and regular use is likely more beneficial than occasional use because you are maintaining a consistent level of circulation support rather than giving your scalp sporadic boosts. Combine it with a thorough scalp massage, and you are layering 2 of the most effective circulation boosting strategies available to you right there in your daily shower. At number 2, we arrive at an ingredient that works at a level most women have never thought about in relation to their shampoo. To understand why this one matters so much, you need to understand something about what causes hair loss in the first place for a significant percentage of women. Your body naturally produces a hormone called DHT, which stands for dihydrotestosterone. It is created when an enzyme converts testosterone, and while small amounts of DHT serve normal physiological functions, too much of it causes serious problems for your hair follicles. DHT binds to receptors in your follicles and slowly miniaturizes them. Over time, these follicles shrink. The hairs they produce get finer and shorter with each cycle. Eventually, some follicles stop producing visible hair altogether. This is the process behind pattern hair loss, the kind that shows up as a progressively wider part, a receding hairline, or thinning across the crown. Women going through perimenopause or menopause are particularly susceptible to this because as estrogen levels drop, the ratio of testosterone in the body rises relative to it, meaning more of that testosterone is available to be converted into DHT. This is why so many women notice that their hair loss dramatically accelerates during midlife, often right around the time their other hormonal symptoms begin. Saw palmetto extract, derived from the berries of a small palm tree, is a natural DHT blocker. Research suggests that it can interfere with the enzyme responsible for converting testosterone into DHT, meaning less of that damaging hormone reaches your follicles. When applied directly to your scalp through a shampoo, you are targeting the problem at its source. Some shampoos combine saw palmetto with complementary ingredients like pumpkin seed oil or green tea extract, both of which have also shown some evidence of DHT blocking activity. When you see those combinations on a label, that is a formulation worth taking seriously. Leave your saw palmetto shampoo on your scalp for 2 to 3 minutes before rinsing. The active compounds need time to penetrate through your scalp and reach your follicles. And use it consistently, at least 4 to 5 times a week. Results here are not quick, because you are addressing a hormonal process that has likely been underway for months or years. Most women begin to notice reduced shedding around the 3-month mark. New growth, those soft baby hairs along the hairline and part, tend to appear somewhere between 4 and 6 months of consistent use. That timeline can feel discouraging when you are in the middle of it. But remember that you are reversing something gradual, and reversal is also gradual. It is happening. You just have to give it the time it needs. And now we have arrived. Number 1, the ingredient that pulls everything we have talked about together, the one that is supported by more research than almost anything else in this category, the one that women who discover it almost always wish they had found sooner. The active ingredient is caffeine. And yes, it is the exact same molecule that is in your morning coffee, and it works on your hair follicles in ways that are genuinely extraordinary. When caffeine is applied directly to the scalp, it penetrates down to the follicle level with remarkable speed. Studies have shown it can reach your follicles in as little as 2 minutes. Once there, it does several things simultaneously that no single other ingredient on this list can claim to do alone. First, it counteracts the damaging effects of DHT, not by blocking its production the way saw palmetto does, but by actually protecting your follicles from the damage DHT would otherwise cause and stimulating them to grow despite its presence. This is a fundamentally different mechanism, and the combination of both approaches, blocking DHT production with one ingredient and protecting follicles from existing DHT with another, is something worth paying attention to if DHT-driven hair loss is something you are dealing with. Second, and this might be the most important function of all, caffeine extends the anagen phase of your hair growth cycle. The anagen phase is the active growth phase, the period when your follicle is working hard and producing hair. The longer a follicle stays in this phase, the longer the hair it produces can grow before the follicle shifts into the resting and shedding phases. Most women with thinning hair have shorter anagen phases, which means more follicles are resting and shedding at any given time and fewer are growing. Caffeine physically extends the growth window, tipping the balance back toward growth and away from shedding. Women using caffeine shampoos regularly report that the hair in their shower drain decreases noticeably over time, not immediately but progressively and measurably. Many describe reductions in shedding of around 40% after a few months of consistent use, along with a visibly fuller overall density as more follicles stay active longer. For women dealing with androgenetic alopecia, the medical term for the pattern hair loss we discussed, caffeine shampoos have shown particular promise in research settings. This is not a fringe claim or anecdotal evidence. There are genuine clinical studies examining caffeine's effect on follicles, and the results are compelling enough that many professionals now recommend caffeine shampoos as a first-line approach for women who are beginning to notice early thinning before the situation becomes severe. When you are shopping, look for caffeine listed high on the ingredient label, ideally within the first 5 ingredients. Some formulations specify a concentration percentage, and the research has used effective ranges between 2 and 5%. Use your caffeine shampoo every